western Iran. 48 kilometers southeast of Kermanshah. 2:20 in the morning. 84 U.S. Army Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment were spread across 4 rock shelves above Iran's Mountain Command Center. Inside the mountain, 312 Iranian forces defended the bunker that linked 14 missile batteries and 6 air defense sites. The U.S. Army had 74 minutes to break the command network before launch orders could leave the mountain. The bunker sat under 210 meters of rock and reinforced concrete. 3 tunnel mouths fed 1 buried command floor. 2 backup generators, 4 blast doors, 6 camera towers, and 2 Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft guns protected the outer ring. Iranian forces believed the mountain could stop any quick strike. They believed buried fiber lines and sealed chambers would keep the command center alive long enough to send launch orders. Inside the mountain, backup radios, sealed map vaults, and buried antenna lines gave Iranian forces one chance to keep control alive. U.S. Army planners built the attack around shock, isolation, and speed. A B-2 Spirit crossed at high altitude with 4 GBU, 31 dams. Alpha Element, 22 Rangers with M4A1 SOP Mod 2 rifles and a 48 Malawian Quachas Mod 0, moved toward the east ventilation field to cut cameras and intake fans. Bravo Element, 20 Rangers with 18 Malawian Quachas CQBR carbines, C4, and det cord, crawled toward the south vehicle tunnel to blow the first blast door. Charlie Element, 18 Rangers with 2 M249 SAW guns, a Carl Gustav M3, and thermite moved toward the power shaft and backup generators. Delta Element, 24 Rangers with 2 11 Malawian Quachas Mod 0 rifles, AM240B machine gun, 2 Javelin missiles, and laser designators took the high ground to mark aim points and block reinforcements. At 2:26, the assault began. Delta Element fired the first suppressed shots and dropped 4 Iranian forces in the upper towers. Alpha Element clipped the fence in 2 places and rushed the vent field. Bravo Element cut through a service ditch and closed on the south gate. Charlie Element slid down a shale cut and reached the generator berm. Iranian forces heard fire from 3 directions. Their first radio calls crossed. One watch officer ordered the outer ring to hold. Another ordered everyone back inside. Alpha Element reached the intake fans. A Ranger fixed C4 to the control box and blew it. The fan stopped. Dust rolled back into the mountain. 2 Iranian forces ran from a guard room with AK-74 rifles. Alpha Element dropped both men and pushed to the first camera mast. Bravo Element came under PKM fire from a concrete slot above the tunnel. A breacher crawled to the wall, laid a shaped charge under the firing slit, and detonated it. Concrete cracked out. The PKM went silent. Charlie Element hit the generator yard with grenades and rifle fire. 3 Iranian mechanics fell beside the fuel tanks. Delta Element fired a javelin into the right side Zu-23-2. The gun shield split apart. Burning metal rolled down the slope. At 2:29, the mountain command center was under attack from every side. Iranian forces shut the south blast door and switched to backup power. Charlie Element was already at the outer transformers. Rangers wrapped det cord around the switchgear and blew the bank apart. The lights inside the tunnel flickered. Alpha Element cut the last fiber bundle feeding the camera loop. Delta Element marked the 2 tunnel mouths with laser designators. 30 seconds later, the B-2 Spirit released 2 GBU, 31 dams. The bombs struck within 6 meters of the marks. The east entrance disappeared behind stone and broken concrete. The south tunnel roof dropped across parked trucks and sealed half the mouth. The blast shook Delta Element's ridge. Inside the bunker, lights went dark in 3 corridors. Iranian forces stumbled through dust and concrete chips. The buried command floor still stood, but the outer shell broke. Alpha Element rushed the east breach and cleared a half-crushed security room. Bravo Element climbed over the collapsed tunnel lip and reached the first blast door. The door was sealed. A breacher fixed a shaped charge to the locking bar and detonated it. The bar snapped. Bravo Element forced the door inward and entered the smoke. Charlie Element moved through the generator yard while flames spread across 2 fuel bozers. 1 Iranian truck tried to break past the berm. A Ranger fired a Carl Gustav M3 round into the engine block. The truck stopped and burned. 2 surviving Iranian forces ran for a side hatch. Charlie Element cut them down, stacked at the hatch, and blew it with C4. The shaft stairs dropped 3 levels into the mountain. Charlie Element moved down with SAW gunners covering each turn. At 2:33, Iranian forces tried to restore order. A reserve squad of 26 moved from the inner barracks toward Bravo Element. They carried AK-74 rifles, 2 RPG, 7 launchers, and a PKM machine gun. Bravo Element heard boots hit concrete. A Ranger rolled a flash grenade down the bend. It burst white. Bravo element opened fire with 18 Malawian Quachas CQBR carbines. The lead 8 fell in the passage. The PKM crew tried to set up behind a steel cart. A ranger fired 3 rounds through the side panels and dropped both men. The 2 RPG-7 gunners fired too late. 1 rocket hit the tunnel wall. The second blew fragments back into their own line. Delta element stayed outside and widened the gap. The M240B machine gun locked down the North Service Road. 2 pickup trucks with 11 Iranian forces tried to climb from a lower camp. Delta element hit the first truck with the M240B and shattered the windshield. A javelin destroyed the second truck before it reached the bend. A Delta sniper with 11 Malawian Quachas Mod 0 shot the crew chief beside the remaining Zu-23-2. That gun never fired. By 2:36, the fight split into 4 battles. Alpha element pushed through the east security corridor and found a second blast door. The hinges held against rifle fire. A ranger packed the seam with C4, blew the frame, and kicked through. Beyond it, 14 Iranian forces held a dogleg haul with a DSHK on a tripod. Alpha element hit the floor, then fired a 40mm round off the wall behind the gun. The burst threw the crew back. Alpha element rushed the position and finished the haul with rifles and grenades. Bravo element cleared a vehicle bay full of crushed vans and rubble. Iranian forces fired from behind engine blocks and steel columns. A ranger dragged a 48 Malawian Quachas Mod 0 onto a wheel hub and fired across the bay. Another ranger threw 2 grenades under a flatbed truck. The blasts cleared the left side. Bravo element crossed the bay in 22 seconds and reached the command access stairwell. Charlie element came out of the power shaft into a lower service corridor as 17 Iranian forces rushed in from the server room. The first 6 fired wild. Bullets hit pipes and wall panels. Charlie element answered with short bursts from M4A1 SOPMod 2 rifles and both M249 SAW guns. The corridor filled with smoke and sparks. 1 ranger dropped thermite onto a backup cable trunk. The molten burn cut the trunk in 18 seconds. Half the lower floor lost power. At 2:40, the fight turned against the bunker. The B-2 Spirit made its second pass and released 2 more GBU-31 dams onto the upper ridge above the central chamber. The bombs crushed the shock absorbers around the buried command floor and blocked the north escape shaft with thousands of kilograms of rock. Iranian forces heard a deep crack, then a rolling collapse. Dust poured from every vent. The command center was cut off except for the 2 damaged paths the U.S. Army already held. Iranian officers tried to route orders through backup radios. Delta element shot down the outer antennas and burned the mast cables with thermite. Inside, operators ran to a hardened server room with 38 sealed racks, 12 radio consoles, and 6 map stations. That room held live links to missile brigades, drone units, and air defense nodes. The bunker still had fighters. It no longer had time. At 2:43, Alpha element reached the upper operations hall from the east. Bravo element hit the same floor from the south stairwell 40 seconds later. Iranian forces in the hall were trapped between them. 33 Iranian forces fired from desks, sandbags, and overturned lockers. Alpha element moved left to right. Bravo element moved front to rear. The 2 U.S. Army lines kept pressure from both ends. A ranger used an AT-4 to blast through a barricade of steel cabinets near the map wall. Another ranger fired a 48 Malawian Quachas Mod 0 into a PKM crew behind a pillar. The hall broke apart in less than 3 minutes. Charlie element reached the server room then. The door was locked and backed by steel braces. A breacher pressed a linear charge on the latch side and detonated it. The door fell inward. 6 Iranian forces inside tried to hold behind server racks with AK-74 rifles. Charlie element shot through the gaps, then rushed the room. 2 rangers placed thermite on 8 backup drives and 4 radio relays. Another ranger pulled 3 sealed data modules from a drawer and passed them into a bag. By 2:46, the last organized Iranian defense formed around the central command pit. 28 Iranian forces, including the bunker guard commander, held a circular floor below the operations hall. They had 2 PKM machine guns, 1 DSHK, and 14 riflemen behind chest-high walls. Alpha element pinned the upper lip. Bravo element worked down the west stairs. Charlie element came in through a lower maintenance passage. Delta element guided 2 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles into the south ventilation stack. The missiles burst in the duct and sent flame and debris into the rear of the pit. The DSHK stopped firing. Bravo element hit the floor. At 2:50, the bunker fight became hand-range combat. Bravo element fired into the left wall positions. Alpha element dropped grenades over the rail. Charlie element came through the maintenance opening and hit the right side. Iranian forces tried to counter with 2 RPG-7 launchers, but the pit was too tight. One gunner was shot before he could aim. The second fired into a support column and dropped dust onto his own men. A ranger with a 18 Malawian Kwacha's CQBR crossed the center catwalk and shot up the launch control panel. Another ranger set C4 on the emergency transmitter bank and blew it. The blast killed the last PKM crew and ended the final coordinated fire. The guard commander tried to pull 9 surviving Iranian forces into a map vault behind the pit. Charlie Element reached the vault door first. A shaped charge broke the hinges. Rangers stormed in. The fight lasted 24 seconds. 24 seconds later, the command vault was secured. 3 missile authorization binders, 2 encrypted radio cases, 11 hard drives, and 1 floor safe of code sheets were in U.S. Army hands. The central screens were shattered. The backup transmitters were burning. Water from broken pipes ran across the floor. At 2:54, the primary objective was seized. Alpha Element held the East Hall. Bravo Element cleared the last side offices and detained 21 wounded Iranian forces. Charlie Element tagged the server racks and set the final thermite burns. Delta Element reported 2 Iranian reinforcement trucks and 1 armored bulldozer moving up the lower road from the west. The convoy was 11 minutes away. The Rangers had what they came for. They now had to leave a shifting mountain. U.S. Army demolition teams moved fast. Charlie Element ran det cord through the lower relay room and packed 18 kilograms of C4 around the bunker's main switching bank. Bravo Element planted charges on the vehicle bay support columns. Alpha Element placed thermite in the remaining communications cabinets and on the encrypted phone trunks. The Rangers pulled back by lanes. Wounded men moved first. Data bags came next. Rear guards fired short bursts at isolated Iranian forces hiding in storerooms and side cuts. At 3 o'clock, the withdrawal began. Bravo Element crossed the broken vehicle bay and climbed over the crushed tunnel mouth with 2 wounded Rangers on litters. Alpha Element pulled through the east breach under falling dust. Charlie Element came up the power shaft last after setting a 6-minute delay on the final charge train. Inside the mountain, 14 captured Iranian forces were zip-tied and pushed ahead. Outside, Delta Element kept the high road shut with the M240B and a final javelin shot that broke the blade off the approaching bulldozer. At 3:06, the charges fired. The lower relay room blew first. 2 seconds later the vehicle bay columns failed. Then the switching bank detonated. The south half of the bunker dropped into itself. Dust and broken rock burst out of both entrances. The remaining roof over the command pit folded down. Every live circuit inside the mountain died. The reinforcement convoy stopped 700 meters short. Drivers saw the slope move and backed away under Delta fire. By 3:14, the U.S. Army Rangers were clear of the blast zone and moving to the extraction ridge. 2 MH-47 helicopters came in low from the west while aircraft circled above. Iranian forces from a nearby garrison reached the lower camp 9 minutes later, but the bunker road was blocked by burning trucks, split concrete, and a collapsed tunnel face. They could not reach the command floor. They could only watch smoke pour from the mountain they were told could never break. The final accounting was exact. The U.S. Army lost 2 Rangers killed and 7 wounded. Iranian forces lost 94 killed, 58 wounded, and 34 captured. The strike and assault destroyed 1 mountain command center valued at $214 million, 38 server racks worth $26 million, 12 radio consoles worth $9 million, 2 Zu-23-2 guns, 7 trucks, 1 armored bulldozer, and the command links for 14 missile batteries and 6 air defense sites. Iran believed the mountain, the concrete, and the sealed doors would protect its command center. What happened was that 84 U.S. Army Rangers and a B-2 Spirit cut the bunker open, broke its network, and left it buried under its own roof. Iranian forces had mountain cover, blast doors, buried cables, and 312 defenders. What they did not have was 84 U.S. Army Rangers willing to fight into a collapsing mountain.